Please forgive me for being late. My note-taking on this subject tonight has been amazing. I have hand cramp. So anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Miksch. I am president of WDMA Financial Group in Grayslake, Illinois, where we represent clients in 16 states around the country. This is your Insurance Corner, and for the next hour, we're going to take you on an excursion covering tonight the data points regarding long-term care. So pull out your pad of paper, pull out your pencil, lift your legs up, get your cup of coffee, glass of water, glass of hot tea, soda, whatever suits your pleasures, and you're going to kind of have your jaw drop when I start laying out some of these numbers, folks. But that being said, a particular person, as I like to say, I'm the mouthpiece, he's the brains, the man, the legend, the way of life, the person who's been on vacation for 2 weeks, Sean Hauser.
On vacation for 2 weeks? No, sir. I was on special assignment.
Is that what Kelly called it?
No, duty calls. I had to work. So.
Oh, I get that. Yeah. Every day's a Monday in my office, Sean.
Oh, and especially the Tuesday after a Monday holiday. It's like a triple Monday or something like that. So.
They ain't lying. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's good to be back on the air.
Yes, I'm glad to have you back. The last 2 weeks, our phones have been open and silent. I don't know what that means. I will say, I was talking to Mandy Adams, my social media director, about stuff that she's posting on Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing regarding the radio show. And we're starting to get some leverage, Sean. The numbers. I mean, we're not getting, the million followers where we can start earning some money. but lots of people are they're finding out about this show, and that's encouraging because the whole reason we started this whole project 3.5 or 4 years ago. I think it was 3.5, right? A little 3 for sure. Is it 4 years now, Sean? Maybe it's going on 4 years.
Yeah, every show feels like an eternity.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound right. It's been a while. It's been at least 2 or 3 at least.
I think it's 3 for sure. But the whole reason this whole project was started was based on what goes on in my day-to-day affairs, which was people don't know what they don't know, and it's not their fault. This stuff is not taught in school on any level. Even dare I say, in the financial planning world, with all due respect to the CFP people, most of the stuff is focused on investments and rates of return and some other things. Yeah, there's some insurance blended in there, here and there, but when it comes down to this, whether you have a 401k or not, it is what it is, right? Whether you have an investment account, it is what it is. But all of us at some point are going to need the kind of stuff that we talk about on this show, whether it's health insurance, life insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, disability, long-term care, etc., etc., etc. Most everybody is going to have a power of attorney. Most everybody is going to have a will or a trust. And trust me on this, folks, when I tell you this, if you don't have one, the state in which you live has one for you. And I can promise you this, it will not do what you want it to do. Just on the will alone. There was, I was reading, this was a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if I talked about this on the air or not, but there was a guy that passed away. He had no siblings, but he had a bunch of extended family members and other people connected in his life. And he owned several businesses. I don't think he had any family, but it took him 2 years just to start the probate process because they had to reach out, Sean, to over 3,000 people that may have had an interest in his estate. 3,000 people. Now, most of us aren't that lucky to have 3,000 people in our lives. In some cases, some people don't have 3 people in their lives. That's sad commentary, but true enough. But the things that we talk about is real. And at some point, you're going to have to do something in the space that Sean and I talk about. So we're getting some resonance. Whatever Mandy's doing on Instagram and Facebook and putting out either stories or saying, hey, this is what we're talking about tonight, etc., we're getting some play. And I don't know if it's, could take a couple more years. I know the biggest thing I hear, Sean, about our show is I can't listen to you. It's drive home. I can't listen to you at 6 o'clock at night, or it's dinner time. I can't listen to you. Is there a better time for you to do your show? And the short answer is, I suppose there is, but we have over 400 and something podcasts up on Spotify. So if you look under Your Insurance Corner for the free version of Spotify, you can go listen to over 400 different shows that Sean and I have done over the several years. And this stuff isn't going to change. The way in which it's delivered, the cost of things, those things are going to change for sure. But the topics are basically going to stay the same in terms of the general aspect of health insurance, life insurance, long-term care, disability, dental, vision. There's Aflac-like benefits, accident health, and cancer and short-term medical. By the way, Sean, you weren't here last week, but last week or 2 weeks ago, the state of Illinois banned short-term medical plans after January 1st to be sold.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Huge deal. Now, unfortunately, we have some agents in this state, and maybe across the country, but for sure this state, and I'm aware of one of them for sure, that promotes these products as an alternative to the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. And nothing infuriates me more when I hear about that, because the short-term medical plans are there for 1 month to 6 months tops, and then you have to switch to a different company. Every single one of these policies has a pre-existing condition clause, and so if you jump from one plan to another, you're playing Russian roulette with your health, because at some point something's going to happen. You might be covered now, and when you have to go to a different company, everything you did prior to coming onto the new carrier is now pre-existing. But because you got agents selling these things as an alternative to Obamacare, I think that's why the state has come down crushingly hard on these product lines. It doesn't hurt that these product lines, Sean, in all honesty, the commissions are as high as 30%. So they're money makers for agents who sell these things on a regular basis. But if they're selling these things on a regular basis and they're using them for the purpose of an alternative to Obamacare, honestly, those people should have their licenses removed from the planet. Not just from the state of Illinois. They should be forbidden to sell these products, period. They should be out of the insurance business, period. And for those agents that are selling these things like that, you know who you are. I don't know how you sleep at night. Let me just pose one question to you. If you sell one of these things, let's say you sold one to me, and I didn't know my butt from Adam, and I'm healthy, and 2 months into my 6-month situation, I developed cancer, and it's February when I'm doing this. I'm going to be out of coverage. I'm 2 months in, so March, April, May, June. I'm out of insurance, Sean, by June, and now I have cancer. Mr. Agent who sells these things as an alternative to Obamacare, what do you tell the patient now, your client? What do you tell your client come June when you've been treated for cancer and now you can't get another policy to cover your cancer going forward? And what's worse, you can't get on an Obamacare plan because coming off a short-term medical plan, Sean, is not a qualifying event because they're not ACA compliant policies. And you can't get on an Obamacare plan until January 1st of the following year. So you've got July, August, September, October, November, December, 6 months that I need to cover myself for. What do you tell the family? What do you tell the client? That you're the reason why this happened. I want to know. I'd love to know that answer. And don't give me this gibberish that Obamacare is expensive. Yes, I will be the first one to tell you the idea of calling this the Affordable Care Act, my opinion, is intellectually offensive to me. When the out-of-pocket average is $9,150 per person. And when you get to be upwards of Sean's age or my age, you're looking at premiums well over $1,000 a month. And you're limited as to what doctors you can use because the networks have been scrunched big time. Just saying. This was not going to be the topic, but this is a thing that burns my you-know-what, Sean, and it gets me going.
Well, and I know the reason why you're upset about this is because a lot of people will look at this and say, well, it's an alternative to Obama plan, right? So I'm good, covered. Well, it's one of those things where you have to get into the language of the contract. You have to learn all of the you have to do your pre-work before you get into one of these things, and then you've got to think through all of those results that you just talked about, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people, okay, how many seminars have you been to over the years? Like 1 billion, right?
Too many.
How many hours of training have I sat in to talk about investments and insurance and things? Too many, right? And you get a lot of people that are premium buyers, right? Oh, it's
exactly
cheap.
Right.
I can get into it. No pre-existing, they're afraid that the nurse is going to come and find out they have Ebola or something, and it's that irrational fear of that medical analysis that a lot of people are like, this is better. This is better. That's why those life insurance policies are so popular. You can get $25,000 worth of coverage with no questions asked for $3 a day for a while. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't go past that.
Right.
And that's why that stuff gets so irritating to people, because it's like, it's one of those things where in the right situation, they work, but they don't solve the problem in every situation, like the advertising may allude to, but never really comes until you get the guy at the end that .com, and that's your entire disclosure. And you're what do you mean? And then you go on the internet, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, and
I know why this irritates you.
Yeah, it's, and this is why, Sean, you've heard me say this a bazillion times. We don't sell rates; we sell contracts, because at the end of the day, you are selling an insurance contract to the buyer, to your client, and they are interested in what's it going to cost, and they might be interested in what's the copay, or what's the percentage, or is my drug covered, or is my doctor covered. They don't get into the nuts and bolts and meat and potatoes of what's inside that policy. And to some degree, a lot of brokers don't either. I know brokers, for example, selling disability insurance that are only interested in what the rate is. They don't give a rip about the definition. And the definition is everything, because the definition defines how the claim is going to be paid. It's not complicated. But because this is inherently complex, this is not the topic I wanted to talk about tonight, but now I'm on my soapbox. This thing, it is complicated. And I mentioned to a client of mine today, and I think I've said this to you before, Sean, on any given day, we are practicing insurance, contract law, tax law, and accounting, depending on a question we have to ask. I'll give you for instance. Do you know how your premiums are supposed to be paid for your medical plan at your job? Pre-tax or post-tax?
Yeah. Oh, pre-tax should be.
Right? What if you are living with a domestic partner. What if Kelly and you weren't married, you were just living together? How does that get handled?
I had to wait till till we passed a certain milestone, like number of months, and there were some requirements.
Yep. So domestic partners, generally speaking, that portion of the premium is after tax, not pre-tax. That's as an example. Here's another example. For the accident policy, the hospital indemnity policy, kind of like the AFLAC kind of programs where you get money if you get sick or hurt. Now, I'm not talking about disability. I'm talking about indemnity, hospital indemnity products where you get a per day, per diem of money for every day you're in a hospital or you suffer an accident, and there's 8, 9, 10 pages of different kinds of accidents. How is that premium supposed to be handled, pre-tax or post-tax?
Trying to think of when I paid it. I think it was post. I'm not sure.
There's a reasonable commentary because the IRS doesn't even help you here. There's been no real guidance from the IRS as to how the money is supposed to go. However, and let me make it one even better, when you ask the insurance companies point blank, what is the premium? You guys sell these products. How are the premiums supposed to go through, pre-tax or after-tax? Oh, sorry, Bill, we can't give you that information. You have to talk to your tax advisor. Your tax advisor wouldn't know their butt from a hole in the ground with regard to this. I'm sorry, but most of them won't. However, these are indemnity kind of products where you're going to get money up front so as to stay out of trouble and not push the IRS envelope. Have the premium go through after tax, not pre-tax. For accident, for hospital indemnity, for cancer, those kinds of duck-like policies, if you will. And Sean, everybody's selling them now because the deductibles and out-of-pockets have gotten so ridiculously high. It used to only be 1 or 2 carriers that did this. Now everybody's in this game. One last question on this subject matter. This is a tricky one. If you are having your premiums for your medical, dental, or vision plan going through on a pre-tax basis, and at some point you have an epiphany that you can't afford something and it's not open enrollment, by technical rule, are you allowed to terminate those policies, or do you have to wait until open enrollment?
Unless I have an event, I don't think I can terminate.
That's correct. So if you've got stuff, folks, if you've got a premium going through on a pre-tax basis, technically, you're not allowed to get off the plan until open enrollment. Technically. Now, Sean, let's say that the premium for you and the 4 kids that you have and the 3 adopted ones that you got, not really.
Yeah.
And your wife, you've got 7 kids and a wife, and the premiums are costing you $2,000 a month to insure all of them, and you just come to a point where I can't do this. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
It's food or premium, right?
Right. Technically, I'm supposed to say to you, sorry, Sean, you should know or should have known or should have been told when you're doing this pre-tax that you can't come off the plan without a family qualifying event of some kind. Now, that's the technical rule. The moral side of that equation is if it's costing you $2,000 a month to be on health insurance, which is ostensibly a mortgage payment on top of whatever else you're paying, and you can't make it, in defiance of what the law says, I have a real moral problem telling Sean that he can't get off the plan until open enrollment because he should have known or was told, or maybe he was told but didn't remember, et cetera, et cetera. $2,000 is $24,000 a year. That's a lot of money. And if you can't afford to live your life or even meet your basic needs, because the health insurance is costing too much. I have a real problem saying, no, you can't get off. I know what the rule is, but I have a real problem saying, I can't do it. My moral compass won't let me do it. So these are the kind of things that we do all the time, and good brokers like us do, but we do contracts for a living. We don't sell rates, but there are brokers that just sell rates out there, and agents that just sell rates out there. They have to live with themselves. This is building relationships out there, folks, not just peddling policies. And why do I say that? Because in my career, I've had to deliver 4 life insurance death proceeds. People that were clients of mine, I had to deliver checks to their families, some of whom I knew and some of whom I did not. And you find out real quick what you do for a living when you're handing over a check to somebody of a client to a family for a life insurance policy that they need that money desperately because that was the breadwinner. That's what ultimately we do. That's what we do. We make a promise that you're going to be okay. That's what we do. And it's a hard business. So I think I'm done with but that all led back to short-term medical plans, Sean, aren't eligible to be sold after January 1. In fact, United Healthcare, as of January 1st, as of September 1st, United said no more policies after September 1st. So we'll see how long that lasts, because there is a market for people in that space. Unfortunately, like a lot of things that happen, bad apples spoil the whole bushel, and enough agents were causing enough problems there that were causing issues. So I'm going to get on to the topic at hand. I'm going to bypass my welcome things about baseball, Sean. We'll talk about baseball next week since we're in the final stretch of the season. Long-term care. In the context of preparing for this show over the weekend, and Sean, do you have to take CE credits for what you do or no?
I don't for my job, but I do for a couple of certifications, I hope.
Okay. Well, for us, we have to do 24 credit hours of CE credits, which may or may not include 3 hours of ethics a webinar, which is a snorefest. And in addition to that, if you're selling long-term care, you have a special module that you have to take for long-term care. And if you're selling annuities, you have a special module to take under what's called anti-money laundering. You're basically taking tests to make sure that you know what you're doing. As an example, if Sean were to hand me over $250,000 in cash and say, "Here, Bill, take this and put it in an annuity," if I accept that money and somehow move that money in a way that hides it, that's kind of money laundering, and I'm going to go to prison along with him. So I have to know where the money's coming from before I can take it. For that reason, I don't take cash at all, period. Somebody asked me today if I take credit cards. Nope, don't take credit cards. In my office, it's illegal. If you saw auto and home insurance, I suppose you could do that, but not in my office, not what we do. But in the context of studying for these modules, and just to give you a sense, Sean, there's 100 pages of reading just on long-term care on that module that I had to read this weekend. So,
wow.
Yeah. Some of it was interesting, and that's what brought the topic. Some of it was, I already know this, so I'm just going to keep going. And some of this was like, when did that happen? So, as an example, what is long-term care? In its purest form, and I'm not going to give you the book definition, I'm going to just speak from the heart. Long-term care is an insurance policy that is going to help protect you or a loved one in the event that you can't do 2 of the 6 what are called active daily living activities, or ADLs, such as being able to get up out of a bed or chair without help, being able to dress without help, being able to eat without help, being able to bathe without help, being able to go to the bathroom without help, or incontinence. Any two of those six, and you will likely qualify or trigger the potentiality for qualifying for a long-term care event, whether it's home care, skilled care, nursing home, assisted living, etc. Any two of those six, or it can be an or Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, and in that same place you would possibly put in stroke, heart disease, and cancer as some notable ideas of reasons why people would necessarily trigger a long-term care event. So that's what triggers that. What the policy does is they say, Sean, if you can't do two of the six ADLs, you qualify for triggering the potentiality to start a claim. And the claim can pay for home care, assisted living, skilled nursing care, and or nursing home care, or any combination thereof. It can also include homemaker care. Those are custodial services. Long-term care is more of a custodial aspect of health care. It is not necessarily a trigger that is medically necessary. That falls under medical insurance. So if you had a stroke or a heart attack, and as a result of that you needed some rehabilitation in a nursing home or skilled nursing facility, that may very well fall, the rehab may very well fall under your health insurance or your Medicare plan. On the other hand, when the insurance company starts to see that the nature of your condition is no longer medically necessary, meaning that you're not getting better, that you're showing just little modicums of getting better, but nothing major. Now it's going to be considered custodial. Medicare does not cover custodial care. Your health insurance policy does not cover custodial care. I don't care what kind of coverage you have, it doesn't cover it. Unless it's tagged with a medical condition that's medically necessary for your medical plan to be involved, custodial care is not covered. That's where long-term care comes in. That's where long-term care steps in front of your health insurance plan and says, okay, I'll take care of you. So those are the two of the six ADLs: dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, stroke, cancer, heart disease. Those are the major things. There's a list. There's other kinds of things if we wanted to drill down further, but I'm not going to bore the details. So there are different kinds, and I've kind of alluded them already. You've got nursing home care, and nursing home is a combination of custodial and skilled care, wherein you need custodial care because of the nature of your medical condition, but you're also getting rehabilitation or rehab services, or you have to have some level of 24-hour medical care, but you're not sick enough to be in the hospital. You have skilled care, which technically is really getting into the rehab stuff. You had a heart attack, you're put into a skilled nursing facility so they can do cardiac rehab to get you back on your feet and get you going again. Custodial care is just that. You're not medically sick. You're sick. Don't misunderstand. You've got issues. There's no two ways about it. But it's not to the level of a medical problem. And so you need help with daily living things. That's where custodial care comes in. You have adult daycare. That is basically daycare for the elderly. My wife used to work for one at Condell Hospital when they had what was called an intergenerational daycare center. That's when the grandparents and the older people would go for the daycare because they were living at the son or daughter's house. They had to drop them off at the daycare for adults, and then they'd pick them up, no different than a child. And in some cases, they're picking up both, the grandparent and the child. So assisted living. Assisted living is a very cool idea for people that know they're okay, that they can live on their own, but the assisted living facilities offer some on-site medical care, offer some programs that you might not be able to get at home living by yourself. Certainly, they're going to give you camaraderie and ability to communicate and be with others of your generation. And then a lot of times there is programs where you go from assisted living to kind of the skilled care to nursing home and then to hospice. It's all built into one program. But assisted living is essentially your own apartment. You can come and go as you want, but you've got on-site medical care and you've got programs there for people that are living in those programs. Home care, and I'm specifically talking about homemaker care here. Homemaker care is only for dealing with the active daily living requirements, helping you through the day, cooking, cleaning, bathing you, toileting you, dressing you, etc. Those are homemaker services that can be done on a periodic basis or 24/7. Then community-based services. These are services, Sean, like adult daycare centers and other community-based arrangements where adults can go outside of nursing home, outside of home care, outside of home health care, outside of being in a more structured environment. And these community service programs have to be covered under these long-term care programs. In fact, there was a law that was passed, I think back in the 90s, that included this. And that allowed these programs to maintain their what is called tax-qualified benefits. I'll get into tax-qualified and non-tax-qualified in a second. So then we get into the data, and before I do that, Sean, I just realized we missed our bottom line. So because we're talking too much about short-term medical, and I was on my high horse. Any comments before we go to break here, Sean?
No, I just think you're going to scare me with this long-term stuff again.
Well, don't mean to scare you, but my jaw was on the floor after I got reading this. So anyway, Sean, this is 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slades Corner, Wisconsin. This is your Insurance Corner. That's Sean Hauser. My name is Bill Miksch, and we'll be right back after these short messages.